case you're wondering what's going on, we're waiting for Commissioner Hudson and Colonel Foley. So the second they get here, we should all say something funny like, "What took you so long?" or something, I don't know. Enjoy the quotes. Meanwhile, this picture was taken on commissioning day before we went up to get our first appointment of Modesto, California. So these are some funny quotes I thought of in the middle of the night, and then we put them on slides. So that's right before we walked on stage. Thanks for coming. They were about a mile out, they told me, because I think they got trapped on 10. How many of you got trapped on 10 today? Yeah, it's really brutal.
"37 years, and this thing moves." Welcome, everyone. How are you all? Thanks for coming out. All right. We got family, friends. We got everyone here. This is amazing. I'm Luke. I'm George and Dawn's son. Dawn and George's son. It's always George and Dawn. Why can't it be Dawn and George? I don't know. So I wrote a little something, and it's on my phone, so I apologize. It's so small, the print, but 37 years, can you really do that justice with a video or even with a one-day event? Probably not. It's actually not 37 years. It's 37 years, 22 days, I believe, 1 month. And I know who's counting, right? But I know my dad did about 10 years before that as an employee for the Salvation Army, and my mother also did a lot of work before that as a maid. And I think, Mom, you worked at Jack in the Box as well, did you not, wherever you're at? But a lot of work going on here. And then officership. Now, appointments, I think it was 12 or 13, I don't know, I lost count, around 10. But I do remember the Tenderloin in SF was one of the hardest ones they had, the Salvation Army Croc Center in SF. That was a tough one. And I remember just as a child watching them work. And that was the theme of this intro here, was just work, and how, sometimes there's no glory in it. Most times there's no glory in it, but that's the point. It's work, and you're called to do it. And I didn't really get it until a few years ago, because I thought, my parents, what are they doing all this stuff for? What's it all about? And I realized it's not for man's glory. It's not for glory you get here on earth. It's for God. And they were called a long time ago by God to enter this door and to do this work as Salvation Army officers, and they answered that call. And many times, at Christmas or Thanksgiving, I would think, well, what about our time? What about us? As I'd see them slave over meals or slave over Christmas centers, and learning that my father learned to hate Christmas because of all the work. But then I realized, you know what, though? It's for the people. It's for others. It wasn't for the glory here. And I finally started to understand that a few years ago. And I remember my parents, the fun we had with the youth. My mother would always put on these plays during Christmas time, during Easter. She'd put in the hours with the children, making sure they got the lines right, but also making sure they were doing okay at home. They cared about the kids at their home life and went the extra mile to make sure that they mattered. And I remember my mother singing all the time during church events, special events, and putting in the practice. And watching that sacrifice, the time put in, it really left a mark on my life. And again, going back to the youth, always putting the youth first. I'm a broken record now, Mom and Dad, talked about this before, but there's no way to fully know here on earth the impact you've had on others' lives. We see a little bit of it, we see a little hints, but you can't know until heaven, I believe, fully what you've done. And thank you for your service. This isn't a toast, but if it was, here's to my parents, Dawn and George. Thank you for your service, 37 years, 1 month, 22 days. And maybe now you could take life a bit easier for a change, stop and smell the roses a little bit. I think you've definitely earned it. And now if we can have Mike Shepard please come up and open in prayer. Thank you so much.
Will you bow your heads with me in prayer, please? Lord, what an occasion that we should be here to celebrate this particular moment in a life that so many here know fractionally in comparison as well as you know. All that's happened, all that's been done, as Lucas pointed out. We thank you so much for service, and we know that in retirement there's no such thing. We're all pressed into service to our last day. Help us to be faithful, Lord, in everything we do and say. To these especially, I know you say that the great line, well done, thou good and faithful servant, but I'll just pass it on now in the auditorium, Lord, if you'll let me. Well done, thou good and faithful servants. Bless us all here, Lord, for Jesus' sake. Amen.
Things and ideas you just crossed over into. was 1975. The place? A small Salvation Army Corps in Renton, Washington, right next to the raging Cedar River. Two strangers would meet for the first time. Little did they know that summer would rock their world and their lives would be changed forever. The two strangers? Well, their names were Don Baudet and George Rocheleau. Don was 16 years old and didn't really know too much about the Salvation Army, but she worked at the day camp, summer program. Gotta admit, she was curious. And George, well, he was there to let her in on the secret. George was 19, Don was 16. Nothing happened yet, but those numbers are pretty interesting in some states. Another major player in this drama was Captain Gordon Helms. He was the Divisional Youth Secretary for the Northwest Division, and he put together a day camp team of which George was a member and also a bus driver. George was a bus driver too? The wheels on the bus go round and round. But the pitter-patter of young lovers' hearts is the only sound anyone could hear. Little did Captain Helms know he was bringing these two young lovers together on a collision course that would change their lives forever. Join us as we celebrate the last 37 years, here in the Twilight Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, George and Don Rocheleau.
And I'm Marie.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm George. Welcome to our anniversary celebration.
What the heck are you doing? And what is a anniversary?
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just losing it today. I'm very nervous for some reason. Normally I'm so cool and calm. You know me.
Okay, try to relax, maybe, George. Retirement celebration, take 3. Action.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm George. Welcome to our retirement celebration. We are so excitable for you to be here. Sorry, Don. I messed up again. Can we try it again?
Don, where'd you find this guy?
I really don't understand. He's usually much better at these kind of things.
Hey, I have an idea. Why don't we get actors to play us? That'd be the easiest thing, wouldn't it? Maybe Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt could play me, and then for you, Scarlett Johansson or Megan Fox, is that her name? What do you think?
Are you kidding me?
No?
I'm not the one messing up. We need to replace you.
Retirement celebration, take 4.
And I'm George. Welcome to our 37th year retirement celebration.
Today, we're going to have a great time looking back on our 37 years of officership.
That's right. Don and I will have a funny story from each appointment.
And I think there'll be some video tributes.
And Don will sing a song or two for you.
Thanks for coming and sharing this time with us.
Great job, it's a wrap.
Hey there, welcome.
37 years. Wow, honey, the time flies.
I know, it's so crazy. It's like you're not even recognizable anymore.
Well, every day is brand new with you, I can say that.
True.
I'm glad you all could make it. It's been a long time since I've seen many of you. So we're really glad you came from long and far. This is a very special day for us. I have so much in my heart and so much in my mind to say. Honey, I'm just overwhelmed with joy. I am absolutely smitten with you 37 years later. I can't even... Honey, who's that?
I don't know.
Ha ha, very funny, Albert.
I think it's the guy that kept messing up on the video.
What the heck was that?
Oh, my stand-in. Welcome.
Thank you, Albert, very much. Good to have you here. And
Sit down now?
no, you can stay and help. You never help with this part.
I know I don't.
Okay. So the next part is going to be sort of fun. Because of the elderly in the audience, and I'm mainly talking about Ron Strickland, we're going to be careful, but we are going to have a little bit of fun. Albert, come over here. Sierra, come on up on stage if you want to help. If you know me, and if you've been to one of my day camp assemblies, we always throw a few things around. We're going to do it through one song, and then we're going to stop. So just throw them back up on stage. If you have any energy, come on up. Luke, come on up and help me. Watch out for the elderly. No, you got to throw them back up here. Keep your eyes open. Dave? That's not bad, Dave. That's not bad. Wow, that's hard to see. Almost. I got to get somebody that can catch. Shoot! Remember, I did not do that. Do you need an ice pack? Kevin, your arm. Nice. You're way too powerful. Time.
All right, you're all going to the NFL.
Ty, come on up. Come up and help. Okay, Jeff. Nice.
Tuck it out.
Okay, the audience, we can bring the music down. I don't think they can handle any more throwing. Ron, are you injured? See, you blocked it. The poor guy. Sorry, I'm blinded by the spotlights here. Sorry, I can't see anymore. Oh, very good. Well, here's what's going to happen tonight. First of all, thank you for coming. Tonight's fun, and you didn't get a program, and some of you, that's just driving you nuts, and I did it on purpose, so you're sitting out in the audience, you're used to being officers in charge of everything, knowing what's coming at you, and tonight, like Don Bell's going, what's happening? Except I did give Don the program because he's in the program. If you're in the program, you have a schedule. If you're not, you don't know what's going on. And some people are going to go nuts. They're shaking right now thinking, what's happening? Am I next? No. If you don't know that you're next, you're not next. I'm not going to pick on you. So tonight we have a few things that are going to happen. We have a few video tributes, about 7 of them. Then we have about 7, for lack of a better word, live tributes. We have one person representing THQ, Steve Byerty, wave from the back. Thank you very much for showing up. I think our farthest people came from Hawaii. Our next farthest people are session mates, right? If you were in our session, stand up. I want to say hi to you. Come on, stand up. George Beecham, you can still move. Cindy Foley over here. Phil Lum right here. Thank you for coming, my session mates. If you were at training school with us, now is Colonel Hogan or Charlene Bradley in the room? They were going to come. Charlene, stand up. And I love what Charlene has done recently. She has renamed our session. We are now the Ghostbuster session. That was her idea. Here's how it worked out. On Halloween at the training school, we had a big fun time, everybody dressed up. I went as a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Her husband went as a Ghostbuster. So the whole night he's chasing me with a vacuum hose, and I can't sit down. I'm so fat. Anyway, I've trimmed down a little bit. Anyway, that's all that's going to happen. If you're in the meeting, Luke will call you up before it's time because there's a few little changes that we have. And we're going to start off right now with Dawn coming up and going to sing an old favorite. We usually have flags coming up. Dawn? We usually have flags. You're next. Yeah. Dawn's copy. Sorry, Dawn. I messed up.
Okay, so
Dawn's copy.
here's how it goes at our house. I come home, he says, I need you to do this. Can you check this? Can you read this? I go, oh yeah, it looks fine. And then the day of, I don't know what's going on.
I'm leaving.
That's how I survive. What am I doing? Am I singing?
Your song.
Which one? This one?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
And we're not doing this on purpose, by the way. We're screwing up right now.
You might have to stand up on this one. You've heard me sing it before, and you can sing on the chorus because it's a great song. And I'll try to remember the words. So. It's what I get for not being involved. God is building an army, mighty warriors strong and true, marching boldly to battle. Hear his voice and quickly do, and the land that Satan stole away, we're coming back to take today. So let us join in one accord, fight the battle, win the war. We are an army, we're marching hand in hand. We're taking back the land that Satan stole. We are an army, we're marching hand in hand. Together we will stand for our Lord. We've been battered and we've been scarred, but we'll see the final hour when our great commander Jesus comes and everything is said and done. The armies of the Lord will win and the victory party will begin. So let us join in one accord, fight the battle, win the war. We are an army, we're marching hand in hand. We're taking back the land that Satan stole. We are an army, we're marching hand in hand. Together we will stand for our Lord. We are an army, we're marching hand in hand. We're taking back the land that Satan stole.
Hey George, congratulations on your retirement. Just want to say thank you for your ministry and all that you did for us while you were actually doing the county coordinator in Santa Clara County, and we were the Corps officers at Sunnyvale Corps. Had a lot of fun times there, walking into your office, was seeing all those binders up on the wall and having the United meetings. And the best thing I remember about you is the way that you were able to, even before you were in ministry, you saved the life of my beautiful bride. Why don't you go ahead and explain it?
Okay, this is how I remember it anyway. George and I were campers at Campo Wood. We were probably 13, 14 maybe, at band camp. And we were cleaning up the campfire pit after our practice. And we walked back towards the center of the campground. And as we're walking, we hear a rattle. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna die. It's right, according to my memory, near my feet. And George just yells, stay right there, don't move, don't move. And he said he was gonna go get help, and he did. He went and got help, and I think Dave Riley might have been on staff or maybe doing the camp at that time, I don't remember, but him and a bunch of guys came and with a pole with something on it, and were able to subdue the rattlesnake, and I took off. And then after that, as I understand, they may have caught it and cooked it and skinned it and hung it up in the camp somewhere. But anyway, thank you, George. I'm here today because of you. Thank you so much. God bless you both on your retirement.
Congratulations.
We love you, and we hope you have the best retirement ever.
Yeah.
Hey, George and Don. So excited for you guys. Congratulations. I do have a funny story with Uncle George and my grandpa. One day they came to visit me, and I'm pretty sure it was my freshman year of college. And we decided to take a trip to Jerome, which, if you guys have been down that road, it's pretty scary and windy. And George decided that he was going to go 100 miles per hour, pretty much, going down this massive, windy hill. And I just remember being so terrified and looking over at my grandpa, and he's hanging on to the little handle, and both of us are scared to death. And there's George just chilling like this is his everyday life. And after that, I told myself that I would probably never drive with him again. But in all seriousness, he's such a great guy. Love my Aunt Dawn. You guys are an inspiration. Love you so much. Mwah.
Where are you, Nicole? That was great. That was great. You're still scared. And Marty, you're welcome. I was glad to save her life that day. She told me the rest of the story. She said, you never came back. I don't remember that part. In other words, I left her with a rattlesnake. Do I look like the kind of guy who would do that? Hey, stop it. So I'm going to be telling a funny story to go with each appointment. And Dawn's going to be back there doing some PowerPoint with it. And some of these they're all true stories. So Earl, don't think I'm lying. I'm not. Okay? I'm making fun of Earl Wyckoff, my good friend from the 60s. I think, Earl, between you and who else, we go back to the 60s with you. Okay, this first appointment was a Modesto Red Shield. We actually have someone from Modesto here. Stand up, Haggerty. Haggerty and Teresa, stand up. This guy, he's like in his 90s. I don't know, he might be close to 100 right now, but he was in our first appointment. And I'm so glad that you're still moving, Dick. It's good to have you here. Well, if you know me, I'm a builder, and I like to improve things. Even before I became an officer, I worked hard at Salvation Army Corps my parents were assigned to. My dad was so happy when I got old enough to work at a thrift store, and I really did my hard work there. So it's the summer of 1985. We just got commissioned to our first appointment in Modesto, California. The Red Shield Community Center, it was not a Corps at the time. The building and outdoor swimming pool were in bad shape. Now, I'm not joking. Was that a hand-painted shield? I don't know. That was the paint job. It was really nice. Yeah, I don't know, something. And that's what bugged me the most. This picture here, and if you look closely, right below the shield on the right is a hole right through the building. So I thought there's a few things I need to do here, I think, to fix it up. So I asked the DC, Colonel Ray Robinson, what I should do. And Colonel Irwin happened to be in town for some holiness seminar, and he brought him by for a tour. So I took him through the entire Red Shield and pointing out all these problems. I say, what do you think I should do? And here's the famous last words of Colonel Ray Robinson. Get me a few bids together, George, and I'll see what we can do. So I did, and I put it together in a proposal, which is right here. And you're correct if you're thinking this is 37 years old. This is the original proposal I did, and I was a little nervous back then. I have 5 cover letters from the DC. I mean, I have cover letters coming out of your ears. When they got this at DHQ, they probably flipped out. I had photos. It was a crazy proposal. And I have this 37 years later, and yes, Don does think I save stuff too much. Sorry about that. Since we didn't have any money, he gave us a grant of $100,000, but if you knew Ray Robinson, he couldn't just give me all the money, and he gave a redemption loan of $60,000. But due to the cost of the overruns, as you know, they happen, the actual cost ended up being $172,334.03, and I know that because I still have the finance report. The officers got really mad at me, the ones who were heading up the town. And there's a relative of them in this room, so I'm not going to say their name, but I had to put together this proposal. Anyway, to save money, I started doing a lot of work myself, which included cutting through a cinder block wall with a diamond bit saw that I rented to make a door and a window, and the Gracianis came and enjoyed that window later. Where are you, Henry? You enjoyed that window in the office, right? And I built a shower. Sorry, I'm going off script just a little bit here. I built a shower off the office, remember? With my goal of getting my wife in the shower with me. Remember that, the goal? How did that work? That did not work. Did it work for you? No, me neither. I also jackhammered out the concrete in the old pool filter and did a lot of the physical work myself to save money. A very faithful advisory board member who I wish was here now, a good friend of Dick Haggerty, Bob Cruzy. What a great guy. He's still alive. He's in 80, I think. He told me this. He'd never seen an officer work before. I didn't say it, guys. He said it, and I've just really cracked me up, and I've never forgotten it.
For live tribute number 1, fellow session mate, Lieutenant Colonel Cindy Foley.
Well, I certainly can't follow the spirit of George, but we'll remember we did have some great times. We've actually been, if you count training school as a first assignment, actually served with George and Don a number of times over the years. We just keep popping up together. But it did start at the training school, and you know, the best story, of course, you had to already steal my thunder. I didn't realize until I did see that the Facebook post that we are the Ghostbuster session, but the real story that is, we had a very serious principal that really didn't put up with a lot of nonsense, and we actually weren't even a difficult session. We're very easy because all we ever heard every day was, "You will not be the heralds of hope." So we all toed the line pretty well. I think there was about 32 of us as we started. So when it came to Halloween, it was one of the few times that we got to live it up a little bit. And George always had to take things, you know, to the zth degree. And he really did dress up as a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And we all thought it was great. That and a couple other costumes that night are probably my clearest and best memories of training school. But the better part was, I think a bunch of us single girls went up to George and rolled him over, and he couldn't get up. He literally... And I guess, you know, I got him back for you because we didn't help him. We just left him in the middle of the floor. We had a number of brigade outings. I know we always enjoyed Dawn's music. She was always our vocalist and would help raise money in World Services because you could put Dawn and back then a tape recorder in front of a grocery store and make a ton of money. I know sometimes our brigade leaders actually would just chip in the $5 and then go have coffee. But some of the rest of us would actually work, but Dawn always put us to shame because she would get so much financial support. And who knows what George was doing. I'm sure he was probably like her sound man or something. It's hard to know. The other thing that was great about having the Rocheleaus in our session is the Rocheleaus took more pictures of one event than the rest of us have of our entire Salvation Army careers. But every once in a while that comes in handy because George will send you an email in a 48-point font with a variety of colors, and he'll put some odd picture in there, and it's like, oh my goodness, how do you have the picture from the Motel 6 in Roseburg, Oregon, when we're all standing outside? There's a number of funny things. I think being crazy in Aaron Trujillo's room one night on a trip, and all kinds of funny things that happen. And I think I'm supposed to stay mostly to training school, although we have had a lot of great experiences as officers. George and Don were our corps officers, and when we were the divisional youth secretaries in the Golden State Division, we would actually drive on Wednesday for programs and on Sundays all the way down to Santa Clara because our kids could have great programs, and it was quite the drive. But the kids loved it, and it wasn't just because of the candy. And remember the promo CDs that you were always giving out? There was always music. But Dawn would do incredible musicals, and our kids loved music and loved being part of that. There was always incredible Sunday school contests. I am wondering if someone today will be the lucky winner of a television, because I don't think there can be a George Rocheleau production where a television or an 8-foot treasure chest is not given away, because they were also our corps officers in San Francisco at the Kroc Center Corps as well. But probably one of the highlights that our kids still talk about is going to the Alaska Division with the band trip. And even though we had just moved to the San Diego Kroc Center, is only a few months later, and George and Don said, no, you guys have to come back. You are all part of the van. And they said, all of you come. Tim hadn't played in a number of years. Tim even played some second cornet. Our kids would have been like 4, 7, and 10. And we went and we all marched in the Great Alaska State Fair Parade. I think it's a quarter of a mile. But we had an excellent time. And of course, because George planned this incredible trip, we went and saw glaciers. We saw, do you remember, what are they called? The albino whales happened to be in the bay that day. So we did do ministry, we really did. But there was also a lot of a great family time. So we appreciate that. Our kids still think very warmly of George and Don. They were loved. And sometimes when you're an officer and you always move around, you and your kids aren't always considered real corps members because you come and go. And if you're the DYS, you really are the worst soldier there is because you're hardly there. But our kids were always loved, including a few weeks when there was just no way we could get them all the way down to Santa Clara. But George would send someone to pick our kids up in Pacifica to make sure they didn't miss the program. So on behalf of Tim and I and Laura, Alex, and Victoria, thank you so much for being great corps officers, for loving us as your soldiers and session mates and fellow officers, and for giving back to our children. I'm sure we all know kids and adults that they have invested in. So God bless you. And Don, I hope you have a relaxing, incredible experience in retirement. And George, I hope you sit in a chair at least once in a while. I'm wondering if he maybe dug the pool at his house himself, because you never know. But God bless you.
And here I was a little worried that Cindy wouldn't have anything to say. So wow, those are some great memories. And I really apologize because some of you out there going, hold it, man, I've been gypped. The guy hasn't thrown one thing in the audience except a football? What is going on? Who likes licorice? Watch your eyes. because of the elder in the audience, like Ron Strickland, I was going to have my grandkids. And Albert, can you come on up during every one of my talks? You're going to go and toss people stuff easily because they're elderly in the audience. Come on up, grandkids. I got grandkids, and Lily is my, what is she? I'm your great niece. Here, you guys, take those in the audience and throw them to people. Albert, where are you? Here, whoa. Don't throw the whole box. Don't throw the whole box. No, you guys walk in the audience. Sierra, can you help? Where are you? Help the kids. No, you guys can walk in the audience. Oh, okay. Yeah, walk in the audience. Take that box with you and have them throw it. And normally in this time, the husband would give the wife a gigantic bouquet of roses. Yeah, I'm not that guy. Dawn, come on up for your giant bag of Werther's Original Butterscotch Creams. Oh, she's doing the PowerPoint. Albert, take this to Dawn, but don't tell her not to open it, because once she opens this, it's crack. It's crack. Anyway, I forgot to give out the candy on the first story. I apologize. Now, we're moving on to our next appointment, which was Hayward, California. Hayward was our first core appointment. There was not much going on there. So we started building the core through the youth ministry. And if you know us, we love youth. We've tried to do our best with youth, and you're going to see a few slides coming up here from that. After our first day camp, we invited kids back for Sunday school and other activities, including singing company, which Dawn excelled at. In fact, in Hayward, she had such a fantastic group, we were invited to perform at a territorial event in Long Beach. And here's the funny story. It's 5:04 p.m., October 17th, 1989. It is youth night, and Dawn is in the chapel with the singing company. I'm out in the parking lot when the 6.9 Loma Prieta earthquake hit. I'll never forget it. The whole parking lot started waving like the ocean waves. The asphalt was doing this. I race into the building, see my son Sky riding the kitchen doorway like he's a professional earthquake rider. He's hugging, you know how you see in the training? And our son Sky is riding this earthquake. I run into the chapel where Dawn is leading the kids in singing. The music was so loud, she didn't quite hear what was going on, and one of the kids said, "Mrs. Rocheleau, it's an earthquake." And she said, "Shut up and sing." Now, Dawn says, I would never say shut up and sing, but it is, you have to admit, it's a funny story when you say it that way.
Hi, George and Dawn. Congratulations on Hi, George and Dawn. Congratulations on retirement, and John and I are looking so forward to spending much more time with you and doing fun activities, and we love you so much. And
don't you like when things move? They move quick. Die, thank you. Wow, that was shocking. Kids, back up. We're giving more stuff out. Albert, where are you? Who likes beef jerky? Oh, I see now the beef jerky hands are going up. I don't know if I can throw it back that far. I'm going to try. Kevin Tennyson, get off your phone so I don't hit you in the head. Drain, sorry. Okay, the next story is Stockton, California. And man, do I have a ton of stories from Stockton. From the transvestite hooker on the corner of the core when we came, to the active railroad tracks going down the middle of the street in front of the core. Railroad tracks, Steve, right in front of the core. You look out, there's a freight train going by during holiness meeting. Bullet holes in the core fence. To having 302 in Sunday school, And that was one of those contests. Where are you, Cindy? That's one of those contests where I said if we had 100 at Sunday school, I'm giving away 12 six-packs of Coke. If we have 150 next week, I'm giving away this. By the time I got to 300, I said if we have 300 in Sunday school, I'm giving away 10 trips to Disneyland, 2 big screen, I'm not kidding, 2 big screen TVs, and we hit 302. And I don't have a picture of it. Sorry about that. We took the Corcadus to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It was Dawn's idea, but then she couldn't go at the last minute, so I'm driving to Arizona from Stockton with a bunch of Laotian kids in the back, and they were so well behaved and so quiet, I thought I was alone. Anyway, I apologize. I'm going off my script. Oh, and the funny thing, we found the quarters bed supported by red bricks when we first came. Not a bed frame, but red bricks. Ben, you've been there. You've seen, where are you, Ben? I can't see the lights here. The person you saw, right there, that's Tiffany Lawler. Where are you, Captain Lawler? There she is, trying to hide in the front row. She's preparing for an earthquake. I don't know what she was doing. She was our employee at the Corps. Anyway, I'm just going to focus on 2 stories from Stockton. Sometimes you have a chance to visit the Corps you're moving to. And Dawn, I'm back on script. We were in Hayward. Since we were in Hayward, we were able to drop by for a tour before we moved to Stockton. For some reason, they wanted to show us everything, which included the back food room and a freezer. For some reason, they opened the freezer. I saw a big giant cake in the freezer. I thought, you can freeze cakes? I never knew that. They must have had so many donated, they were freezing them. Well, in case you're moving ahead, if you have a sharp mind still like Betty Ludd, you're moving ahead and you realize that that cake was served at our welcome. The cake we saw in the freezer was served in our welcome along with, and when the Leslies went there after us, they probably bought some class to the place, but they also gave us bologna sandwiches, I think, for lunch. The next story you may have trouble believing. The next story you may have trouble believing, but trust me, it is true. Do not walk out. You can call the cops later. I was going to play the part of Indiana Jones for a youth council's drama the division was putting on, and they picked me to be Indiana Jones. I used to be a lot trimmer and more handsome. Sorry about that. That's why I'm showing the old commissioning picture. I look really good. Since I wanted to be realistic, I wanted to use a real gun. One of the Home League ladies let me borrow her .38 special she kept in her purse. Ivan, what would you do if you had a Home League lady with a .38 special in her purse? But it's Stockton. She's freaking out. She let me borrow it. Anyway, since I was at a rehearsal at DHQ in downtown San Francisco, that's a 10-story DHQ building there, and I told a few of the guys, Richard Brown and Craig Helms, hey, let's go on the roof and try the gun out. They went with me, and I shot the gun off the roof, and the echo was incredible going throughout all the buildings. They took off for the exit racing. They were terrified, thinking anytime the SWAT team was going to arrive and arrest us. I was laughing so hard I couldn't run. And by the way, in case you're wondering, you're thinking, gosh, I thought I knew this guy. The gun was loaded with blanks, so cut me some slack.
Say something. For live tribute number 2, Steve Byerly. THQ Croc Dude. Say welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. As they say, I'm from THQ, but unlike most people who come from THQ, I will be brief. But I'm not bringing any assessments and certainly no allocations. Because you know the difference between an assessment and an allocation? Allocations may come and go, but assessments are forever. It was kind of interesting, Dawn singing the song this morning. It brought me back to the band. I think it was about 5 years, when they had the 5th anniversary of San Francisco Croc. And I get this call from George saying, hey, we're having this anniversary. We'd love you to come up and speak. You were so helpful and all this. He's buttering me up big time. Okay, George, I'll go. So I show up. He goes, you're just going to go on after Dawn. No big deal. Just go after Dawn, and then I'm going to come up. So we go. I go there, and 200 people in the gym at the San Francisco Croc Center. And all of a sudden, the music starts playing, and Dawn comes out, and she's singing, and everybody's clapping their hands and jumping up and down. There's all this excitement. I'm thinking, I've got to follow this. I have been set up. And I look over, and George is just grinning from ear to ear. I was just a buffer between the two. I remember that the first time I met George, and I think Cindy mentioned the email. I'd never met him. I met him by email. So I get this email from George Rocheleau, and the subject line is help. I've been told you can help me solve this particular, it just goes on and on and on. I'm like, what is this? So I open it up, yes, in the big blue letters and the 27 exclamation points, it starts out, dude. I've never met this guy, dude. So anyway. And then I think the first time I actually met him in person, we had a meeting, and I think it was Pam Strickland, I think, who actually hosted this meeting of the future Kroc officers, and I came because I was at San Diego Kroc. And so there was Phil Lum was there, and John Chambliss, a couple others. Anyway, so we were all going to go out to a movie at one point, and so what movie should we go see? And George recommends No Country for Old Men. Have you ever seen that? It's not exactly the most uplifting movie in the world. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that one. But the whole time, George is freaking out because they're getting ready to open San Francisco Kroc. And he's like, dude, I'm going crazy because, I'm so busy trying to do all this stuff because I got nobody to help me. And they say I can't hire anybody until I do my budget. How can I do my budget? Because I got that. So I finally got my budget done and I submitted it and they deferred it. You say, but they're meeting today. So I'll get the answer. So the whole time he's just like, he keeps checking his phone. Oh, I got the answer. And he opens it up. And what do you think it said? All you former DCs? Noted. So helpful, so very helpful. We always love that one, right? Yeah. And then I met Don. I finally got to meet Don, and I figured out what George's secret was, because George was able to do so much, right? Because I'm visiting San Francisco Krocs. We talked a little about Railton. He goes, well, Don kind of handles that. Okay, we talk a little more fitness. Well, that's kind of Don's thing. And then we talked about, the kitchen and the food distribution. Well, that's Don's thing. I think there's a pattern here, George. Yes, so anyway, but the first time that I actually saw Don, my first thought was, wow, George, you did pretty good. And my second thought was, Don, what were you thinking? And I know you've thought that many times, right? Anyway. So, but there is George, a lot thing he really did is he would build shelves. Right? If you went to the tour of the San Francisco Kroc Center, you take the tour, you had to see every storage room. And every storage room, he'd walk in, dude, there was no shelves. You should have seen this place before. But look, I built that. And, mostly when they build shelves, they have 2-foot centers. But I put the cross beams on 1-foot centers like that. Is so strong. See how strong that is? Hang from that shelf. You can hang from that shelf. So, it's okay, George. I believe you. It's no, hang from the shelf. I finally figured it out. We were not leaving that storeroom until I hung from that shelf. So I hung from the shelf. So later we're bringing a tour from a gentleman named Roger Severn, who's an erudite Englishman. He's kind of my counterpart in the Eastern Territory. And I'm just like, Roger, when you take the tour, he's going to take you into a closet and you're going to have to hang from, just do it. When he asks you to hang yourself, just do it. So sure enough, start first thing the tour. Here's the storeroom. Look at this shelf. Roger, come here, hang from that shelf. See how strong that is? And I so wish I had a photo of the erudite Roger Severn hanging from the shelf. Somebody mentioned riding it with George. Anybody else ever ridden in a car with George? George is one of these guys that loves to shift the car, even though it's an automatic. And the whole time he's driving, he's got one hand in the wheel, and he's like, dude, you wouldn't believe. People in San Francisco here, they're crazy. We wouldn't do anything. Like, oh my gosh. And then I went big into the car. And so I came here to Phoenix. George, when he was, his second Kroc stint here at the Phoenix Center. And he picks me up, and it's a hot summer day. Picks me up at Phoenix Sky Harbor. And I get in the car, and he's like beet red. And his sweat's pulling off of him, and he's like, well, we're going to head out to the Kroc Center. I'm thinking more, maybe the medical center? And what it was, he's like, dude, you wouldn't believe it. They won't let us go to the big car wash, so I just went out to one of those places and washed it myself. It's like 110 degrees in Phoenix, and he got his full uniform and tunic on, and he washed his car, which says a lot about George's work ethic and something I really appreciated him. But, George, I'm glad you were okay. I wasn't sure that day. And George, I remember saw him one time at a conference, and he's moving a little slow. And I said, George, what's wrong? And he goes, well, knee replacement. And I'm like, oh, really? Which one? He goes, both. I'm Now, who gets both done at the same time? The people I know, they get one done, and they're like 6 or 8 weeks. They can hardly move, and they're moving real slow and all that. He gets both of them done, and it slowed him down for a good 8 hours, probably. But George and Don, there's so many things I'm going to miss about you. You've done so much and touched so many lives in that. And we joke about you a lot, but you know that we do it with love. And one of the things I'm really going to miss is when you call. Because every time George would call me, he would say, "Dude, Rocheleau." And I finally had to say, "George, when you call me, you don't have to identify yourself because there's no one else who calls me and says, 'Dude!'" But anyway, again, thank you so much for George and Don for all you've done, and may you be blessed with a healthy, happy, and long retirement. So happy retirement, Don, and dude! I get to call you dude this time.
Congratulations, George and Don, on your retirement. It's finally here. It's hard to believe that it's been so many years. I just want to really thank you for all the years that we've shared together, both in friendship and in working together. The many years in Santa Clara, Alameda, and at the Croc and Railton. I have to say, you two have been a real blessing in my life and probably to thousands of others. And just the way you care for us, and for me especially, just the trust you put in me and being able to work with you in all these years. I just really want to thank you for so many memories. I think if I went into them, they would take so many hours. But just seeing the dedication, the work you two did in your years, whether it's handling kiddos, leading young people, doing day camps and church, has been just a wonder to see. And especially listening to your voice, Don, whenever you sing. But I just really want to thank you now for the just so many memories I will have to take with me all the time from just the time we've shared together. Especially, I have a set of shells that I can always remember you by, George. And I'll never forget the black rest in peace birthday cake you got me on my 50th and 65th birthday. Well, think of it this way, George. No more late night kettle counting. Congratulations on your retirement, and God bless.
And Shelton's here. Good to see you, Shelton. Thanks so much. Your box. We're still doing candy, guys. The audience is hungry. Especially after put up with all this. Grandkids, are you coming back? Oh, that's all those. Forget that. Okay. Here, take this. Here, you guys. Where's your box? Here, open this box up.
Okay, we got sunflower seeds here.
You guys, where's your box? Could you bring the box? Okay, you guys, here's your box. Now just go in the audience with the box. Throw stuff to people. Hold it. Here's some more. Hold it, you guys. Take the box. You got it? Go ahead. So the guy you just heard on the screen, Shelton Yee, worked with us in San Jose, California, well, first time. And I'm not doing any notes here, Dawn. I haven't started the thing yet. And I asked Colonel Harvey, the DC at the time, I said, hey, this Shelton Yee wants to be our business administrator. What do you think? And here's what Colonel Harvey said. You could do a lot worse. I thought, okay, so I hired him. He worked for us in San Jose for 8 years as the director of operations, and then he followed us off to Oakland, and then we got transferred to Southern California. He thought, well, we're done in Northern California. I said goodbye to Shelton. He was very sad. We were very sad that we're breaking away. And then that Basilico guy pulls us back to San Francisco to open the Kroc Center, and Shelton's like one of the first people that calls me, hey, George, how you doing? So yes, I hired him, and he worked almost, he was our first employee that we hired in San Francisco. Okay, so this next story is the DYS in San Francisco from 93 and 95, and if you don't know the history, the Del Oro and Golden State divisions used to be one division called the Northern California/Nevada Division. The DC, Colonel Bruce Harvey, and his wife, Dorothy, right? Had taken the division from 30 to 60 corps. They doubled the size of the division. As DYS, he told me my main job, I'm not making this up, my main job, it wasn't running camp. I didn't run camp. They had a camp director. My main job was to send 20 people to training each year. He never complained to me about any other officers except for one time when I first became DYS. He pulled me aside and said, you know, the previous DYS, he's not in the room, by the way, the previous DYS was talking people out of going to training school. And he was very upset about that. And anyway, he's not here. Anyway, due to the size of the division, we had to have 2 youth councils as the camp could not handle all the young people of the division at the same time. So we had 2 youth councils per year. It was a lot of work. We had a giant crowd at one of our youth councils. I don't even remember the THQ speaker, but the altars were lined with young people. It was a fantastic outpouring of the Spirit during that service. After the meeting was over, I was on such a spiritual high. I decided my equipment, I had a ton of equipment because I always have a lot of equipment. And Cindy Foley, when Dawn was out singing, making $1,000, where are you, Cindy? When Dawn was out doing war cries, I was competing with her at another store with my guitar, my sound system, maybe even a puppet show, trying to beat my wife, which, yeah, didn't happen. By the way, Dawn's record in front of Target at Christmas with people crying in the parking lot as she's singing these Christmas carols, they're crying in their cars, $1,000. It was 1984. She made $1,000 in front of Target. I thought it was pretty impressive. Anyway, back to my story. Sorry, Don, I left the script. After the meeting was over, youth councils, altars lined, I had such a spiritual high, I decided I'll take my equipment back to DHQ. I had only a minivan, though, so I thought I'll take a load back. But I had so much energy by the time I got to DHQ, I thought, heck, I might as well go back to camp and get the other load. And oh, yeah, that's our DC up there, by the way. And he probably didn't want me to show this, but I don't care. He's not my DC anymore. That's Ivan Weidel in the middle. And Dawn put him into some musical or drama she was doing, and he was Mr. Consistent Lee. Say it again. A youth council skit. Say rally skit. Well, thank you, Ivan. You were such had good spirits. I sent him this when he got assigned to be the DC here, and he wrote me back, said, please don't post this. And here you go. Don't worry, we're only putting this on YouTube. And I'm not kidding. This meeting will be on YouTube. We'll send you a link maybe. Anyway, back to my story. So I decided to go. I'm at DHQ. I thought, let's drive back. It's late at night. And I do what's called my Kessel run. For you Star Wars fans, I made it from San Francisco DHQ to camp in 59 minutes. Star Wars, next shot. Oh, we're still doing slides, sorry. Oh, this was a cake I had made for Colonel Harvey. The last CFC before the divisions went into 2 divisions, and I brought in a giant sheet cake. Let me just read to you in case you can't see that. Famous quotes by Colonel Harvey. They want what? Not a chance. No. Give me that. I'll sign anything today. Famous quotes by CFC members. Well, they used to call it DFC back then. Whatever you think, Colonel. Sounds good to me, Colonel. Those guys owe us $193,000. I've now got AP below $1 million, and that was Victor, your brother, said that. He was the finance secretary. Anyway, back to the story on the 59-minute run. Dawn, are you getting to that picture? There we go. There's the Kessel run. If you don't know what it is, you got to watch Star Wars. While we were DYS's in Northern California Nevada Division, Jeff Moore, a Christian singer, wrote a song about the Salvation Army. What? He wrote a song about the Salvation Army. The band wanted to make a music video but did not have the money. Somehow this came to our Command Finance Council. I remember Colonel Harvey, the DC, asking us about what we should do. Now, as you know, I'm normally very quiet and subdued, but this time I spoke up and I said, what the heck? A guy writes a song about us and we don't want to help him make a video or something, to make an investment? Well, Colonel Harvey said, okay, we're going to do it. And we spent $50,000 back in the 90s, and we made this video you're going to see in San Francisco in 2 days. And believe it or not, 6 of the people in this video are in this room right now. Ben Nunes, Marty Nunes, Ivan Wild, Henry Graciani, Don Rocheleau, George Rocheleau. Don and I play 2 parts each. I'm the guy with the trumpet, the handsome guy with the trumpet, and then I'm a bum. And then Dawn, of course, is the gorgeous lady in the long dress and has a few major close-ups, like the eye is Dawn. And then she's the girl in the leather jacket. And as a treat for you, hopefully you stay for dinner, because I got enough food for 120 people, and there's like 90 people here. At each place is the original New Frontier magazine with Dawn on the cover at your place when we have dinner. So, and it's a very, very old, I was so proud of my wife, I got like 200 copies, and I carried them around the last 37 years, well, not that long. And you know what Dawn said when I said I'm going to give these out? She says, I'm glad finally get rid of those things. They've been in a box in the garage. So you're going to enjoy it. And when you open to the centerfold, you got the whole story of the video. And it's so incredible that 6 of us will be in the same room 28 years later. And note, the only paid actor in this video is the little boy. Enjoy this. It went worldwide. Heart to God, hand to man.
Darkest England, 1865, a dismal slum of poverty. A band of believers, rescued from the night, played songs of hope and offered life.
If a man is hungry,
give him food to eat.
if a stranger's thirsty,
give him drink. If a woman's battered, if a child's abandoned, bring them in, give them what they need. A heart to God and a hand to man. Here begins the healing of our land. A heart to God and a hand to man. I can still hear the hallelujah band. A heart to God and a hand to man. Like an army marching as to war, come to set the captives free. The bread of life for the poorest of poor. Hear the cries, bringing relief.
if a man is hungry,
Give him food to eat.
if a stranger's thirsty,
Give him drink. If a woman's battered, if a child's abandoned, bring them in, give them what they need. A heart to God and a hand to man. Here begins the healing of our land. A heart to God and a hand to man. I can still hear the hallelujah band singing heart to God and a hand
Ladies and gentlemen, don't call it a comeback. Live tribute number 3, Lieutenant Colonel Joe Pasilico. Put your hands together. Woo!
Well, George gave me a call a couple weeks ago, and he said, do you think you can say something good about me at our retirement? And he says, after all, we go back 60 years, and that's the truth. When I was a single new lieutenant stationed up in Globe, Arizona, the Rocheleaus were in Prescott. And when you meet one Rocheleau, you meet all the Rocheleaus. They were a family which I immediately connected to. I got to actually follow them, not immediately after they left Prescott, but 2 appointments after they left Prescott. And just to see the work that the Rocheleau family did in that Corps, and many people sitting here today are evidence of that. You got the Chavezes, who are a part of that group, and to have that family with the effect that they did, and then for us to be able to continue to have that relationship. George's dad sent my wife, Sean, to training school, and from San Francisco Citadel. And so we've got this relationship. But when George talked about, he talked about being a building person. And when he gave the story about Modesto, and he talked about that window. What he didn't tell you was that when he knocked that wall out, it was a bearing wall. And he, to this day, calls Bob Cruzy his friend because Bob was the one who corrected him on that. Isn't that right, Dick? At the Red Shield Center. When they were in Stockton, and I was up in Sacramento, and we were working on the new building that we're building up there, which was a gym and the whole youth center thing, named after Ray Robinson, by the way. Not the boxer, but rather Colonel Ray Robinson. And I got to replace Colonel Robinson in the position he was in after he retired to finish that project and to finish the campaign. And I remember sitting looking at the architectural plans. George was in Stockton, and I kept looking at these plans. They were about ready to approve them, start the project, and I felt that there was something wrong with the plans. And so what did I do, George? I called him up and I said, George, can you come up? I just want you to look at this. You tell me what you think is wrong. I already knew what was wrong. I said, you tell me what you think was wrong. And so he looked at it, and right away we knew that there was an issue. And so Don Pack was the Corps officer. And I went to Don Pack, remember, and I said, there's something wrong with these plans. We're going to need to change this. And Don Pack says, well, everything's been approved. Everything has gone through the city. All of this has been approved. And I said, but this is not going to work. And I said, we have a serious problem. And then George explained to him. And so Don Pack calls a meeting of the property committee. And we're sitting there. And then all of a sudden, Don says, Joe has something he wants to tell you. Fortunately, I brought George with me. And we went through that whole process, and they were the board members were kind of stunned. But they finally did agree, and we got the changes made. It just delayed the project several more months. But these were the kind of work and experience that George had. We ended up putting up that San Francisco Kroc Center. We got him to come up and to help with the construction of it. San Francisco Kroc Center was a dream of Rich and Betty Love, who was sitting here. When we got to follow them as divisional leaders, we focused in on that project to get it done. Very unique project. When George came, I said, I want this to be the first Kroc Center built after San Diego. And we pushed the architect, we pushed the contractor, we pushed the city. As a matter of fact, when the plans went to the city zoning in San Francisco, of all places, the zoning commission passed the plans in the first meeting, which was just amazing. But as we worked on that Kroc Center, which was very unique, sits on, I believe, a 1/4 acre of land, goes 8 stories up, a unique also in the sense that you got Railton House, which are the apartments up on top, and then you got the the Kroc Center. And we got the approval. Actually, while we were going through the competitive stage, George was over in Oakland trying to compete against us. He wanted a Kroc Center in Oakland. And he used to call me and you know, say, "You're going to steal our Kroc," and all of this. And I said, but he didn't know I had this plan, that once we got the approval of Kroc Center, that I was going to give him the opportunity to run it. So he didn't miss his one up there. But building this Kroc Center was pretty awesome. Also in the sense, you know, we had the uniqueness. Don took the lead on the Railton House. And by the way, we came up with that name. You might not know this. George Scott Railton was a 15-year-old homeless kid that the Booth family found sleeping in the bushes of their front yard. And because we had an aged-out foster kid program with that facility, we wanted to name it after George Scott Railton. And George was having his knee problems. Steve mentioned it. And I remember going coming down with donors and groups, going through and stepping over all the construction stuff. George running up and down those stairs, barely able to get up there, but he kept pushing and pushing. And one of the unique things was the game room. Remember what we did in the game room? What you did in the game room? I get a call from the architect, and he tells me, "George is going to do something I don't think he should do." And I go, you know, he says, "We're trying to choose the paint for the game room, and he wants to do it." And I says, "Well, you know, George is very creative." And the architect said, "I don't know. I don't think it's going to work." Well, George ended up getting what he wanted. He took, I think, 12 to 15, 10 to 12-year-old kids.
Stop, I'm doing that story.
You're doing that story? Okay, he's going to...
I did paint the walls black.
You painted the walls black. You'll tell her, be prepared. Anyway, we get the Kroc Center done. We get the Railton House done. We have the dedication. The mayor at the time, Gavin Newsom, some of you might know that name, he came to the event. And Mrs. Trying to think, the Kroc family, not Joan, but the daughter, Amanda Kroc. She came to the dedication, and when she came in, this homeless guy came in. Remember this? And sat down next to her and started talking to her. And the guy started telling her his story and how the Salvation Army changed his life and what it meant to him. And she's sitting there thinking, here's the Kroc Center, and here's this shelter where there's the apartments upstairs. And she's saying, you know, getting the story about how the whole Salvation Army picture worked and changed people's lives. And she was totally moved. And she told us at the end of that dedication how much appreciative she was of that. And that plan, Rich and Betty, when you put it together for both those places, and we were able to accomplish it thanks to the work that you guys have done, but it wouldn't have gotten done the way it was going to be done without George running the construction side of it. You know, we get moved to Phoenix. George and Don. One more thing I got to say it wasn't just a Kroc Center in San Francisco. It was the San Francisco Faith Day events with the San Francisco Giants. Remember this? We got to host it at the stadium, and who do you think gave the national anthem? George. But Don brought the house down, and to see the videos that we were able to play at that stadium while the game was going on, they were playing some minor team in Southern California at the time. We get moved to Phoenix, and I'm sitting in my office one day, and I open this envelope from George. It's his resume. He details out for me everything that he's done, all the experience with construction, and he wants to know if I have an opening for him in the Southwest Division. We eventually got him to go to Tucson, and the rest of the story you already know. but just appreciative of both of these folks. And I just want to leave this word with you. Just came across this morning. This tells the story of both you and Don, and also the rest of your family. It may not always feel like it, but you're making a difference. You can't be seen or measured, but those around you know it. The way you live your life, faithfully serving and doing what needs to be done, while it doesn't make the headlines, your actions say it all. Just thought you should know and hear thanks from someone who's thanking God for you too. God bless you both.
Wow, thanks a lot, Joe. That was nice of you. Albert? Are the grandkids, do they got any energy left? Bring your box, bring your box. Come on, hustle. Come on. Lily, come on. Anybody had a moon pie lately? They still make these. It's going to make you look at it for a while. Go. Guys, you can't take your own candy yet. I'll give you more later. One rebuttal to Joe's story, because Joe and Haggerty love telling the story about the load-bearing wall I tore out. What they failed to tell you is I then got a glue lamp made to go up there and hold up the roof. So that's the part of the story. They act like I just let the whole roof cave in. That's not true. Now, Keith Hines is in the back. Thank you very much, Keith. Give Keith a hand for running all this AV. I promised Keith I would not ask him for anything special, but I am now, Keith, and you're pretty sharp. See if you can find on YouTube, look up Fellowship Day, and we're going to show Don singing the national anthem if he does find it, because you're going to freak out. That was a day when Don told me the only thing you can do wrong with the song is if you start too high. So I'm at home plate. I'm at home plate. Dawn's up by the pitcher's mound ready to start the song. And guess what? She starts too high. And she wasn't feeling good that day. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen when we get to that high note? So if you were at the June 26th retirement where Ron Strickland was specialing, the great speech from Ron Strickland on that day, we did show the video then. But we'll see if Keith can find it a little later. If you find it, Keith.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as we honor America with our national anthem. Performing the Star Spangled Banner today, from the Salvation Army Ray and Joan Pratt Center, please welcome Major Don Rocheleau.
Wow, Keith, that was stunning. That might have been 30 seconds. So if you ever need to hire Keith, he has his own company. If you need him for any video stuff or presentations, he's just fantastic. I was at home plate just going, oh my gosh, and that 44,000 people erupted. And then Dawn says afterwards, because she wasn't feeling good, she said, let's go home. I said, what? We have tickets behind home plate. We can't go home. So I convinced her to stay because we had the garlic fries at the San Francisco. Wow, thank you, Keith. That was awesome. Santa Clara County. Shelton did something crazy there. We had a New Year's Eve auction every year, and we would save all the good things that came in for Christmas. The electronics, because we're in Silicon Valley, we'd save all these electronics and we'd auction them off for World Services. Shelton Yee, though, bought something so funny. It was this Kung Fu, the club, you know, the club that comes in the bar, the professional club you put in your steering wheel. Shelton bought something I was auctioning off, and it just was funny to me at the time. It was a Kung Fu one where you put something on your steering wheel, and then you take a chain and wrap it around the brake. I laughed so hard I fell on the ground, and I'm laughing with my microphone, and Shelton's saying, "What? It's great. Do you still have that thing?" Oh, you do not. Oh, my gosh. I remember we saved a lady's house at the core there. She was the Home League secretary, and her husband was a gambler, and he had put them into 2 mortgages, and then he passed away. And I asked DHQ, can I pay her mortgage a few times? And what can they say? I mean, when you got money, they can't say, no, let her go homeless. So we paid her mortgage. I don't know how many months, but I was very happy we were able to help her. Anyway, we spent back to the script, Don. We spent 8 years, great years in Santa Clara County. And there's going to be a few pictures here of things we did. Many great memories there, including, well, first of all, I worked in downtown San Jose at the county command, and Dawn ran the Corps in Santa Clara. And I'd come up on youth nights, because I do love kids, and Sundays, and join Dawn. Many great memories there, including adding a 2-story building onto the Corps gym, which you're seeing these pictures, which included a game room, weight room, fitness center, garage for the canteen, and a 3-bedroom apartment. Oh, that's our cameraman, Captain Rob Lawler. Thank you, Rob, for coming. I told him I'd be picking on him, so he was ready for this. We added this apartment above the game room with a 3-bedroom apartment. We had a hospitality house in San Jose, and I had hired this great guy named Emmanuel to be the director. Then the ARC swiped him. Thanks a lot, ARC people. Where are they? They swiped Emmanuel to work at the ARC, but George, I never give up. So I rehired that guy from the ARC. I offered him more money or something. But anyway, he became our director at the hospitality house. He was a gigantic Nigerian guy, just huge guy, just a great heart, though. Anyway, I had to tell Emmanuel, as a director, he didn't like to bother me with any problems. He liked to buffer me, because, you know, when you have a 24/7 program, if you've had those as officers, we had 3 24/7 programs. It means you never shut down. So he was trying to protect me from problems, because at the hospitality house, there's always problems. And we had one requirement to hire anybody at the hospitality house. They had to be a felon. I'm not even making that up. You had to be a felon. Anyway, he didn't like to bother me with any problems, and one day when I went to work, I found out someone had died the previous night at the hospitality house. So I told Emmanuel, you know, I know you're trying to buffer me, but if somebody does die in the building, maybe you can give me a call. After he was promoted to glory, they named the hospitality house after him. We'd already been gone, but I thought that was sort of special. I had a great video to show you, but because of my technology is old-fashioned in the new world, you'll have to come to my house, open house tomorrow. I will show you this if you come to open house. It's called Money Changers, and my son Luke could talk people into doing anything. I'm not kidding. He's a gift. And he convinced Emmanuel to play a part where he's selling some bells underground. You know, he stole these bells from the Salvation Army, and he comes in. Anyway, if you come tomorrow, I'll show you. We couldn't do my old technology here tonight.
Live tribute number 4. Fellow session mate, Lieutenant Colonel Phil Lum.
One disclaimer, you know, George is always trying to butter people up, so I am not a lieutenant colonel. I'm just a humble major. Well, thank you, George and Don, for inviting us. You know, we flew all the way from Hawaii last night just to be here, and we didn't want to miss this special occasion, so thank you for the invitation. You know, in Hawaii, we give leis, these beautiful flowers, and it's really, you know, just a sign of honor and respect. But in George's case, you know, we also put these flowers around the roasted pig before we serve it. So it sounds like it's a roast tonight, isn't it? So George, this lays for you. Just want to let you know that. Well, I was a session mate with George and Don many moons ago. 37 years ago, as mentioned, we were commissioned with the Guardians of the Truth, right? Anybody? Don, can you sing the first couple lines of our session song? The one that we had to sing. Come on, Cindy, you remember that? The first two words. There you go. It was written by Ivor Bosanko. We had already written our own song. That's right. That's how it started out. Well, as you've already known, most of you have known George and Don for many years. George is just always full of energy. That describes George. It's an understatement. Don, by the way, is the total opposite. She's calm, she's poised, she's beautiful. So I always refer to them as Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. Just a couple of memories from training college. And when I first met George, I didn't know what to make of him. And as most of you know, in those days, we had to sell war cries, right? And it was already mentioned, Dawn would stand in front of a store and sing beautiful songs, and people would give her money. And George, well, we were in the same brigade, I believe, and one time George says, we've got to do something different. We've got to be creative. And so remember, some of you may remember, you would go and have your war cry route, and you would go to taverns and bars, right? And so George said, hey, there's this place in San Pedro. It's a bar, and we should do some ministry there. Maybe we can save Jesus. I go, hey, that's a great idea. They're encouraging us to be creative. Well, this happened to be a topless bar that George wanted to go to. I'm not making it up. Well, we didn't go. That was just the idea. They wouldn't allow us to go. And another thing I remember, it's already been mentioned, George loved to take pictures, and he's got tons of them. But I remember in the training college, he would take pictures of his kids. And most of the time, his kids were naked. So back in the day, if it was today, George probably would have been arrested. But George and Don, it's been a joy to know you, to be session mates, to travel this journey together. I do commend you both for just your perseverance. 37 years is a very, very long time. You know, in Hawaii, we have a couple of different words to express things, and probably most of you know those as well. But the first word is aloha. Aloha means welcome, hello. It also means goodbye, farewell. But the main thing aloha means is love. I love you. So George and Don, we love you. The second word is the word mahalo. And sometimes when you go to Hawaii, you see the word mahalo on the trash bins. But no, it doesn't mean trash. But it means thank you. So George and Don, thank you. Just thank you, number one, for your friendship, for the many years of friendship, for just for your service, for your example. So thank you, mahalo. And the third word is ohana, which means family. We've been family for many years. We'll continue to be family. We're part of the Guardians of the Truth forever. But more important, we're brothers and sisters in Christ, and we're serving the Lord together. So aloha, mahalo. Thank you for being part of our ohana. God bless you.
Phil, thank you so much. Wow. That was awesome. The topless bar story, I forgot. Beecham, do you remember that? I don't remember. Before I move on to my Oakland story, I want to have our family stand up. If you're a Rocheleau family, stand up. I think Nicole just went out with some kids, but stand up, Rocheleau family. We got Tiffany, Dave, Nicole, my brother, JR, Smile and die. Anybody else? Mike Shepard, I sort of count him as sort of my brother because we go back so far. I got a funny story on Mike Shepard. My brother brought Mike Shepard to the Army, and Mike was an officer for many years, but they went to high school together, and one day I'm in the house eating cereal or something, and Mike comes running in the house in Prescott, just running in the house and slams the door behind him and locks the door and runs into the house. I'm like, what the heck is going on? My brother comes behind him and kicks the door in, kicks the door down. My brother is chasing Mike because Mike had borrowed his shirt, I think. But my brother he's saying, I didn't do that. Yes, you did. I was eating cereal. I saw it. Anyway, great to have my family here. So we're going to go into the Alameda County Coordinator story. I think the reason we were sent to Oakland to be the Alameda County Coordinators was that when Major Ida Holcomb was out at the training school and she brought a brigade of cadets to visit us in San Jose, Santa Clara, I made a mistake of showing all my 3-ring notebooks. And if you know me, I literally have dozens of 3. I actually thought about bringing them out here and putting them on display. I thought, what the heck? I'm too tired for that. Anyway, I showed them all my binders, which included a lot of remodeling projects, so I got to fix everything where I'm at. In fact, in Santa Clara County, sorry, Don, I'm going off a little bit here because I got to pick on Strickland a little bit. In Santa Clara County, there was so much problems with the property, I had to put it in phases. And Ron Strickland was the DS there for a while, and guess what he would do every time he saw me? Oh, George is going through a phase. Thanks a lot. I could tell you stories about Ron. I don't have time. Okay, anyway, she saw these notebooks. Ida Holcomb with the Brigade of Cadets saw these notebooks. By the way, one of the cadets called my wife aside and said, and by the way, I was sick that week. And he pulls my wife aside later and says to her privately, I'm a little bit afraid your husband's going to have a stroke because I just had a little bit of energy. That's a true story. I don't know if that guy's still an officer today. And by the way, Phil, I wanted the macadamia nuts with the covered chocolate, but thanks for the flowers. I apologize. I keep interrupting myself. What a man. What a man. You see, every time I see Phil, that guy never forgets me and brings me these beautiful, and you can't eat one of these things, man. You take one, and you've eaten 15, and you're done, and you're feeling, ugh. Phil, way to go. Okay, back to the script, Dawn. I'm at the part that says Wells, when she became the DC of the Delaware Division, page 9. She must have remembered this and decided to get Dawn and I to come to Oakland and work on all the projects she wanted to get done. One of those was replacing the old Oakland Chinatown core, which was a bunch of temporary trailers bolted together. If you ever saw the Oakland Chinatown core, it was embarrassing. It was supposed to last 5 years. It had been 20 years that they'd been working out of this dumpy place, and a bunch of wild cats lived under these trailers, so it had this really odd smell. Anyway, she wanted to get some things done there. So my dad worked for me for many years at many appointments, and we started doing some improvements to the core, which included adding some game room equipment, vending machine, a bill changer, plus an outdoor little playground we built for the kids of the core. One November, I was parked in front of the core because I would come and physically fill the vending machines by myself, and I'm unloading the vending supplies on the sidewalk under my cart. And Grace Say meets me on the sidewalk and said this, Major, come see building. God give building for Christmas present. I said, Grace, what? What are you talking about? I don't really have time right now. We're getting ready for Christmas. The following week, the same thing. I'm unloading supplies again. She meets me on the sidewalk. I'm not kidding. This is true. She meets me on the sidewalk in front of the core. Major, come see building. God give building for Christmas present. I said again, what are you talking about? God give building for Christmas present? She takes me around the block, just around the corner from the core, and shows me this 4-story building. And it says for lease on it. And I said, Grace, it's for lease. What are you talking about? And Grace says, I tell God, he get me a new building in 10 years, or I go back Hong Kong. God sent you here, get me building. And if you know Grace Say, she had such faith in me. I'm like, who the heck am I? I'm going to get a building that says for lease. I'm going to get it for her. And I did, of course. And if you have a sentimental part, you can close your ears on this one, but I had to sell the old Oakland Citadel core to do it. But they'd already escaped to Walnut Creek, so don't be booing me, okay? They already took off for the suburbs. And by the way, my offices were in that building, but I gave up everything for Grace and bought this 4-story building. And guess what? Here's a funny story. Not in the notes, Don. So we have the Kroc dedication. Steve, I think you were at the San Francisco Kroc dedication. And it was a hard, hard day. And the next day, they were going to dedicate that 4-story building I had bought years ago. They were so slow after I left, but they finally did get it ready. They were going to dedicate it. And I said to Dawn, we got to go, even though we're so tired from the Kroc dedication. So we go there, and they got the street closed off, and we sit down in the audience, and they're on the stage, the advisory board and all the people saying what a great job they did and how they got this building. And then they saw me down there in the audience, and they had to say, oh, Major Rocheleau. Well, he's the one who really got the building. Anyway, I should be more humble. Too late, huh? The bottom line is, God did give building for a Christmas present.
Your husband keeps going on and on and on, calls me Your husband keeps going on and on and on, calls me milkman. So I decided to come to the source to do this video, Grange Farm, Northern Ireland. To both of you, thank you for 37 years of dedicated work for Salvation Army. You both are class. You both have worked with people who needed help all those years. You and I get on like a house on fire in Tucson. When you were in charge there, I had a blast working with you. Look forward to keeping in touch with you during retirement. But I had to just come over to Ireland and show.
Hey, Major George and Don. Congratulations on your retirement. Glad you were able to go for it and hope you enjoy it. I wanted to say thanks for believing in that quiet kid that would just go around slapping paint on walls and stocking vending machines and giving me the opportunity to become a leader and a program director. I'll always be thankful that I got paid to ride roller coasters and go down water slides and eat fried Oreos. And I never imagined I'd have fond memories of driving a bus full of kids, but I'm especially thankful for the opportunity I had to love kids and families in Jesus' name because of your trust and support. I know any kid I was able to bless or point in the right direction during those golden years at the SF Kroc was because you gave me the opportunity, and it was part of your vision and passion in doing the most good for the Lord. Thanks for letting me be a part of that good work you are doing and telling people about Jesus, because we both know you can't get to heaven on roller skates. May the Lord bless you richly and allow you to see the fruit of your labor in this new stage of life and in the eternal one. Blessings to you both.
Oh, that's nice. That's Alex Yee. That's Shelton and Joyce's son. He worked for us a few times, and what a great guy. He was just a fantastic after-school program director. And I had told him, we can't handle these really troubled kids. You know, kids that are like violent and they eat out of the garbage can. We can't handle these kids at our day camp, after-school program, because we don't have the resources. One time, I heard this crazy screaming, and it was one of these troubled kids that I told him, don't take these kids. And I was looking all over trying to find the kid. It turns out they were hiding him in their offices, keep him away from me. Anyway, Alex, great guy. He loved the kids too. This next section is the ARC command. So from Oakland, we finally left Northern California, where we had been for the past 21 years since being commissioned, and went to ARC Command in Southern California. Colonels Ron and Pam Strickland were the commanders, and I'm sure they about fell over when they heard I was coming. Of course, everyone loves Dawn, so that helps a little bit. ARC Command was in that great 14-story building in Long Beach. Remember that one? I just love that building. My office front window faced the Queen Mary. That's my front, I'm not kidding, Albert, my front window looked out at the Queen Mary, and then the window to the right looked out on the Long Beach Harbor. The Long Beach, I mean. It was down the street. It was literally a block away from THQ. Well, I call this really suffering for Jesus. Two quick stories. The first was my time watching the Grand Prix race from the Territorial Commander's office. I love the noise and the sounds of the race, but no one else at THQ liked it, and they took a day off. Steve, were you working there then? They took a day off on the Grand Prix day. I thought, what is wrong with these wimps? I went to THQ anyway by myself, went up to the THQ, the TC's office, and went onto the file cabinets in the office because there was a great view, and I had a bag of Cheetos. The second story is weirder. The second story is weirder. When we got sent to Southern California, I made a list of all the beaches Dawn and I could visit each Friday and take a walk together. I literally make a list of the beaches. I just love the beach. The problem is that what most people call a walk with their spouse, when you're married to Dawn, it's a march, if you know Dawn. So sometimes I would just go alone to the beach right near THQ and would swim about a mile and then walk back in the water for a good workout. So I'm walking back after swimming when something bites the bottom of my foot or something has bitten me. And did it hurt? So I look way down the beach and I see a lifeguard station still open. It was really far away, so I start hobbling towards it. The pain was getting worse and worse as I walked. When I finally got there were two little kids talking to the lifeguard, and he was telling them how safe this beach was and nothing to worry about it. I stagger up, literally, put my foot on the ladder, and blood is pouring out of my foot. These kids' eyes, I never forgot it. It was just hilarious. Blood is pouring out of my wound. And I told the lifeguard, I said, man, I don't know what happened, but something must have bitten me. And he said, oh, you stepped on a stingray. I went, a what? He said, yeah, they hide under the sand, and you must have stepped on him, and he stung you. And the only treatment, the lifeguard told me, for you is to put your foot in a bucket of hot water to draw out the poison. We got to keep pouring hot water in. So he takes me in the lifeguard truck to the headquarters, lifeguard headquarters, and they proceed to do this treatment for like 1 hour until I could finally take out my foot without pain. So it's dark by the time I return to the parking lot and drive home. I get home, went in the house, and there is Dawn, ironing in the living room. I said, didn't you wonder where I was? I could have drowned and you would not even known.
For live tribute number 5, Donald Drain, a.k.a. the Milkman.
There's 2 parts of this, ladies and gentlemen. I have to wear this because I represent the Salvation Army as a volunteer, Tucson, Arizona, Amphi Corps and the main corps. Dawn, you are a saint. George, you totally annoy me all the time. George, it wasn't that funny, but thank you. Now, there's 2 parts to this, so I will have a costume change in 2 minutes, and then we'll get on with part B. But 37 years, Dawn and George, unbelievable what you have done for the community. I'll get a bit more serious at the end. What happened in Tucson was back in June 2016, we were told, because I was on the advisory council for Amphi, and then I was on the main board, and I still am, Our Father. And no, it's a great organization, George. Not funny. Why are you laughing? I'm talking about your organization. Please, I'm in charge here. I've got the mic. So George came in, and he was the officer in charge, and we were all at the board meeting wondering, oh, what's he going to say, and who is he, and how long is he going to last? Is he going to last 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? George, we talked all about that behind the scenes, and then he came in, and after a few weeks, I was representing Amphi, and I said, you know what, we need to, well, George said, what are we charging for our summer day camp for the kids at the Amphi Corps, no, at the different corps? I said, George, we're charging this. And then he said, why aren't you charging that? Well, no, we're charging this, not that. George said, that is ridiculous. You must charge this. We all have to be consistent. You can't be doing your own thing. In other words, George, you put me under the bus, and you had 2 buses, not one, just gone right over me. George, I was totally and utterly annoyed. I said the Our Father under my breath in Gaelic. I kept my calm. As soon as, and everybody said, oh, it's a great meeting. No, it wasn't. It was a lot of blah, blah, blah. So after the meeting, I went into his office, and George said, oh, something wrong with you, Donald? No, George, I'm just getting the tire marks off being put under the bus. So you were wrong. And George, why did you do that in front of everybody? He said, you know, Donald, I knew you could take it. I wanted to make a point, and you were the person I made a point with. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you go through life, and sometimes when to make a friendship really work, you got to go through some hard times. That's what happened with George. We went through some hard times, but we kept, I'm being serious. I don't know where the joke is in that. George, it must be my Irish sense of humor. My last name is Drain. The joke is down the drain. Sorry, okay. Okay. So George came in, and he was in charge, and this gentleman gets things done. We know that from the Amphi Corps. We know that what he's done in Metro Tucson. Dawn, you are a classy lady. Now, this lady, I've had some personal experience how she's helped me out. I have a godchild here in Phoenix, used to be in Tucson. She's 28 years old, going through some very rough times. We think we're coming out at the other end. But in the last year, Dawn, on 4 occasions, met with Courtney and gave her some good help, a shoulder to lean on, because I'm trying to get her through the rough parts of life. Dawn, my sincere thanks to you. We are through the worst parts of that. George, now let me take this off because now I've got to get on to the next part, which is, Steve, you had mentioned, dude, okay? If I hear that one more time, I'm really going to get upset. George said to me one time, now, you've got a dairy farm. I said, yeah, George, we've got a dairy farm in Ireland. Okay, what's the objection? No objection, Donald, but I'm going to call you Milkman. So every time he calls me Milkman, he even sends me letters with Milkman on it. I do volunteer work at Tucson Medical Center. He calls Tucson Medical Center, is the Milkman there? Yes, he's right there. So George, I got this for $4.99 at Kmart. Buy one, get one free. Milkman, okay? I am sick to death of Milkman. Haven't finished. Okay. George, sorry, where was I in this story? Milkman here and Milkman there. Even the postman says, are you the milkman? Yes, I'm the milkman. And then he's got all these things, milkman, all this blah, blah, blah behind the scenes. I sent this to the family and he said, he needs to see a psychotherapist. That's my good Christian Catholic family in Northern Ireland, George, right? They want to see you. Oh, our Father. Now, where was I going here? George, on a serious note, as we say in dear old Ireland, you go through life and you meet people. Both Dawn and George are dedicated. George has this passion which comes across as completely involved, and he gets what he gets done with the youth, with kids. He puts every effort into his sermons, his homilies, his talks. He doesn't stand here and go, okay, we're gathered here today, it's Sunday, blah, blah, blah. He gets energized. People respond to that. You make people respond to you. Dawn, you have the class that just you're the calming force in a lot of moving parts in this man's life. Talk about, Steve, you mentioned about that shelf thing. I have got 48 videos about this stupid backyard swimming pool. If I see one more video, George, and George starts off with every video, like it must be like this. This is, it's now in Buckeye, so this is Buckeye calling. I am now in the backyard, the sun's setting in the west. Where the hell's the sun going to set, George? Not in the east. And he says, I'm Irish and I'm stone sober, I don't drink, so this is coming from the heart, okay? So George will get out on the oh, sorry, I'm looking, it's the mic on, I better stay here, sorry. So George will get out and say, we are now on the swimming pool, they're digging it up and they're doing this, and I see sunsets, I see swimming pools. 48 videos later, talk about the shelf. Steve, I would rather see that darn shelf anytime than the swimming pool. Talk about every time I see George's number, I say, our Father who art in heaven. But seriously, I'd love to go on and on and on because you are good people. You have taught me about, Dawn, you have taught me how to be a better person, be a better listener with your grace and your presence. George, your passion for youth just makes me want to do more, say at the Amphi Corps, because it's youth, and I've been volunteering there 30 years. And all my 30 years, there ain't anybody like George Rocheleau. So may I say, George, I would tip my milkman hat if you ever get to Northern Ireland, but also may I just say an Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine on your face. And George and Dawn, until all of us in this room are gathered together for another celebration, may the good Lord hold you in the palm of his hand. God bless you, Dawn and George, you're special people, and please, let's keep going with this. Milkman, 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 and please send me video 49 when that stupid swimming pool gets opened. Amen, sorry.
gosh. So I'm at the first advisory board member with this guy. We're having a beautiful dinner that we've catered in. He's got a Tupperware there with his healthy salad and some other thing. I thought it was crazy. And by the way, what he didn't tell you, the day camp, they weren't charging anything. His family owns the largest dairy in Ireland, so I mean, that's why I call him a milkman. But what a great friend and what a great supporter of the Salvation Army. Oh my gosh. Wow. San Francisco Croc Center project. Little did we know that we would have a very short time at ARC Command when Joe Pasilico sucks us back to Northern California to complete the under construction Croc Center. I don't have a picture of him, but he's sitting here in the audience. Where are you, Joe? Yeah, where are you? No, he didn't leave. And I think the people that started this project, Colonels Rich and Betty Love, are sitting out there. Don, I'm leaving the notes for 1 second to pick on the Loves. First of all, a good story. Don't do a story. Time? Don't we want to eat by 6? Okay, Don said don't do the story, but I have to do the story real quick. It's fast, Don, it's fast. Rich Love calls me one day, and I had to pull over on the road because cell phones were just introduced, and we didn't know how to use them too well. He says, you want to go to ICO? I said, ICO? I said, International College for Officers for 2 months in London. You're asking me if I want to go to ICO? He said, yeah, somebody dropped out. I said, who dropped out? It was Ken Hodder. He had just become a DC and had to study the manual, so he didn't want to go to London. I'm just kidding, I'm just picking on Ken. If you know Ken Hodder, I said, okay, when do you got to know? He said, tomorrow. So I asked Dawn, I said, can I go to London for 2 months? And we were having a really tough time in Santa Clara. She says, yes, you got to do it. One other story about Betty Love. We're at officers' councils, and we have all these dinners, we sit around tables. And she came to sit at my table one time, and she said, George, don't, and she's the divisional commander. She says, George, don't take this the wrong way, but I can only take you 15 minutes at a time. So we've been joking about that for years, and she keeps telling me, George, I really didn't mean it. I said it was great. It's fine. Anyway, back to the story, Don. Sorry. This was a brutal 9-year appointment, but the ministry was just fantastic, even though we were starting everything from scratch. We spent the first year completing the construction of the $57 million, 8-story, $135,000 square foot building. I was giving a lot of tours in the unfinished building, walking over concrete and everything. One of those tours was a group of kids. I wanted them to help paint the new game room walls, as Joe said, and I interrupted him. So I told the architects to paint the walls black, and they were freaking out. I did not know, Joe, till tonight that they had called you to complain about me. I never knew that story. Because the architects, I pushed them to their very limit. When I said, paint these walls black, they didn't understand, because they weren't in this mind. They didn't understand what my plan was, so I'm going to tell you what the plan was. I got a bunch of kids, took them in there, put garbage, cut the lids, the top of the garbage can liner off, and put the liners over there, each kid. Gave them a paintbrush and told them dip it in this fluorescent paint and just do this to the walls. So we're in there, the place is under construction, it's all messy, but the walls are done. These kids are just having a blast throwing the paint on the walls. It's there to this day, unless they repainted it. I don't know if they did. Anyway, so they had a good time, and we all left the building. I said, meet me at my minivan on the sidewalk, and I got snacks. So I'm getting the kids snacks. They're just eating them right in the sidewalk, and I heard a little kid tell another little boy, this has been the best day of my life. And that just tears me apart, thinking this guy walked into a building under construction, and there's junk everywhere, and he's calling it the best day of his life. What the heck is this kid's life like? So we changed so many lives, and that really touched me a lot. Here are a few of the quotes we got from people at the San Francisco Croc Center that we're just going to show here real quick. You can read them, and Don will move on to the next one. And we hadn't been there for 6 years, and I was very impressed when we got these quotes.
And now to sing God is in This Story, Don Rocheleau.
I was going to skip because it's getting too long, but who's getting hungry? Well, nobody, because you're eating snacks. There's torn up pages in this book, words that tell me I'm no good, chapters that define me for so long. But the hands of grace and endless love dusted off and picked me up, told my heart that hope is never gone. God is in this story, God is in the details, even in the broken parts. He holds my heart, He never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus, always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. So if the storm you're walking through feels like it's too much for you, you wonder if He even cares at all. Hold on tight to what you know. He promised He won't let you go. Your song of healing's written in His scars. God is in this story, God is in the details, even in the broken parts. He holds my heart, He never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus, always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. If it reads like addiction, if it reads like disease, He's the one who frees the prisoner. He's the healer of all things. If it reads like depression, if it reads broken homes, He's the one who holds your sorrow. He won't leave you here alone. God is in this story, God is in the details, even in the broken parts. He holds my heart, He never fails. When I'm at my weakest, I will trust in Jesus, always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. Always in the highs and lows, the one who goes before me. God is in this story. God is in my story.
To follow that up, live tribute number 6, the man, the myth, the legend, Commissioner Dave Hudson. And Don's first Corps officer.
First of all, for all of those who are wondering, it's still Saturday.
Oh boy, tell me about it.
Yeah, it made a lot of difference. I was 10 minutes late.
Just so you know, I didn't write the script or
Yeah.
anything.
I was commissioned in 1975, the last session out of San Francisco, and had the privilege of going to Renton, Washington for my first appointment. And there I met this lovely lady who was, I believe, going into a junior in high school.
Yes, and I was an obnoxious teenager.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Dawn was hired on one of these government programs where they pay the salary and then the Army provides the job. And as you already have told, if you remember a couple of hours ago, George was on a day camp team that came to Renton about the same time. And that's where they met. But I'm not sure if I was in Renton a little bit before George arrived or not. It was
You
close.
were there.
I thought so. So I
The
believe.
camp had started. Yeah.
Okay, was George there yet?
Because you walked in with your guitar.
Okay, was George there yet?
No.
I didn't think so. So I believe I'm safe in saying I have known Don longer than
Yes, he
anybody
has.
else in this room. So it was also a great privilege, as I believe I had the joy of leading you
Yes.
to Jesus.
Yes, he did. Yeah. I remember that day.
So do I.
Yeah.
What an opportunity to be in the early days of this young lady's spiritual formation. We spent many evenings talking about faith, questions that she had, concerns that she had, how it reconciled with life. Her mind was always working. You were at the core almost every single day.
I was.
Her home life was interesting, as a lot of our home lives were interesting. I remember you had a paralyzed dog that would drag, and she loved her dog. 47 years ago, I can remember that dog. But George was actually going with somebody else at the time, and Dawn, for some reason, liked him. But you know, we've heard from you enough, so this isn't about you at all. And so when we were talking and you were talking about your love and your concern, I said, well, there's two problems. One, he's going with somebody else. And if God really wants this to happen, something's got to intervene, and you don't want to be that thing to intervene.
Exactly.
The other thing is, my dear, you could do so much better. But I was only in Renton 1 year with Dawn. It was certainly not long enough. But another lady, or actually Sharon, was in my life even before then, and we got married and we moved out of the division. And that was my first farewell I went through. And just the agony of saying goodbye to several people, but saying goodbye to Dawn.
I had that same agony.
Now, one thing I never told you this. I don't think I ever told you this. After I said goodbye and I left the Corps, we were driving to commissioning, and on the way to commissioning, I stopped at a rest area, and your Corps van came into that same rest area, and I saw you, but I couldn't go over because I couldn't say goodbye again. It was just such a special bond, and that God, through this young lady, spoke into my life. And you've been so special. We had the privilege of interacting many times along the way. Came to Huntington Park, and you and the other guy were our team
We were your cadets.
in Huntington Park, and that was a special time. When the other guy was at ICO, I came up and,
and you did the service for me.
I came up and
You
did the
did.
service for you.
Yeah.
But you know, along the way, some things in our officership that really matters. And you and my officership matter. And as your spiritual father, I want to say I'm very proud of you. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
And you owe me a hike.
I know, I've been crazy busy.
Great, I have to follow that. No, just great memories of David. Thank you for mentoring Dawn after the day camp team left. We got her thinking about the Lord because we did a skit, the day camp team did a skit on the rapture and freaked her out. So thank you, Dave, you were there. Almost done, people. I didn't give you programs on purpose so you wouldn't know what's coming. Isn't that great? Candy Phil's going, yeah, we're Ivan Wild, are you okay waiting for dinner for the book of letters? Because we can move it up. Okay, good. Because, yeah, we'll talk about that. We're going to be done soon. I only got about 2 stories left. Albert, by the way, is from Hollywood. He's an actor, and we flew him up to make that beginning thing you saw, and I thought it was just great. Oh, the TV. The TV. Sit down, lady. If you've ever seen me do an assembly with kids, I insult them. I tell them, get out of my sight. And people are like, what the heck is this guy doing? But the kids love it. So way to go. She got the macadamia nuts. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. And to follow up with the milkman story about the swimming pool thing, over and over the swimming pool videos, come tomorrow to our open house. Commissioner Debbie Bell is going to dedicate our house about 2:30, 3 o'clock. But you're welcome to come to our house. There's going to be flyers on the tables, but you can then see the swimming pool. Bring your bathing suit if you want to go swimming. It's really nice. Anyway, back to we got just a few stories left. Tucson, Arizona, area coordinators. So we finally get out of California. When Joe Basilico was DC in Southwest, he owed us one for sucking us into the San Francisco Croc Center, and we ended up in beautiful Tucson, Arizona. I don't have a picture of Joe, but he's sitting here in the audience. We follow Clem and Moy Leslie, who built this hospitality house. They've been trying for decades to build this hospitality house. Clem and Moy came in and got the job done. It was just awesome. And we came into this beautiful building. I think you were trying not to be transferred, but I didn't do it. We salute, we go on. Clem wanted to stay there. So we get there. While in Tucson, Arizona, I was going to lunch with Joe Galato. He's an advisory board member who was doing a report on the Salvation Army for his degree. He wanted to take me to lunch to talk about the Salvation Army. He was a firefighter and a head guy in the Tucson Fire Department. So we go to this restaurant in downtown Tucson, and we have to walk down this long hallway to get to the inside of the restaurant. An employee at the front sees us coming down the hallway and shouts at us, "You saved my life." And I thought, man, Joe must have run into a burning building and saved this guy. I can't wait to hear the story. We get a little closer. "You saved my life." We get up to the front. "You saved my life." And he's pointing at me. I said, "I saved your life? I don't even know who you are." He then went on to tell his story about coming through the ARC program. And he saw my uniform and was equating that with someone who saved his life. I thought, wow. This whole time I thought he was talking about the fire guy. He proceeded to give his testimony of going through that program and cleaning up his life.
Okay, I'm secretly doing this video right before the retirement party, but I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful for you, Don and George, and congratulations on an incredible career and 37 years of service to a beautiful organization. And I know the inspiration that you have instilled in so many people in all of your appointments. I just got a glimpse of it knowing you the last decade. And I'm, again, just so proud of you guys and so grateful and very excited for the travels that we're going to do together. But George, know that I will never set foot in a Jeep with you again. Maybe your 4Runner because there's a cover on top, but we'll see. We will see. But I'm super excited for you guys just to start this new chapter of your lives, and it's going to be a lot of fun, right? It's going to be great. Love you guys.
Brooke, that was awesome. Where is she? She's probably watching those are our grandkids that were going nuts earlier. Apologize for that. I don't know, you've been preaching before and you have somebody going nuts in the audience. You notice I just ignored them, but you were going like, what do you get these kids? Ben Nunes is going, yeah, get those kids out of here, man. What's going on? We're almost done. Phoenix Croc Center. So here's another shocker in our lives. Basilico had implied we would retire in Tucson. I don't have a picture of him, but he's sitting right here in the audience, by the way. But then the Basilicos retire, and the new DC comes in and sucks us out of Tucson. But I'm not bitter. But we get a surprise as Dawn is taken to DHQ to become the women's ministry secretary, and I'm taken to this friggin' Croc Center right here by myself without my secret weapon, as Steve Byerly was saying. The way I've survived my entire life is I have Dawn do everything, and I give a few tours, you know. So I'm sent to the Phoenix Croc Center here, this building, for somewhat of a rebuild. Who would have thought after 9 years at the San Francisco Croc Center you'd ever go back to a Croc Center? You would never think that. And I said to Phil Lum, I think, man, I'm the only guy that's ever done this. And Phil Lum, of course, he's so brilliant. He said, no, I think there's some guy back in the Central Territory that did it twice. I thought, well, great, I'm not that special then, is what you're trying to say. So they fry, the reason is these Kroc centers fry your brain. Where are the Rows? The Rows just got back from Greece. Stand up, you guys. The Rows just got back. Can you stand up? They just got, I don't know if they can move. They just got back from Greece. They got back from Greece and they want to do the right thing. They were on a study tour. They want to do the right thing. I told them, you don't have to come today. But there they are going, Thank you, you guys. You're so awesome. And they offered us the Kroc Center with no charge. I really appreciate that very much for you guys doing that. Anyway, it's not on your radar. So I get to this Kroc Center, and there's no director, there's no assistant director, there's no facilities manager, there's no HR manager, there's no administrative assistant. And there's a ton of building issues, which you're going to see a few here, including the stairs leading up to the top of the water slide. They were deteriorating and had to be shut down. And guess, I'm getting this company that does the study, and they say, well, here's what the problem is. The concrete wasn't done right. The rebar exploded out. And I'm talking to my brother sitting here who worked for a concrete company, and he actually suggested, what do you think about carbon fiber wrapping? I went, shoot, great idea. I've been trying to think, what do we do besides rebuilding this whole thing? The company that did the study, turns out, does carbon fiber, but we were such a small player. They do prisons, and they do nuclear reactors, and they fix bridges going across rivers, so what are they going to mess with us? Anyway, you know me, I contacted the guy, said, hey, dude, here's what I need. And we got that thing carbon fiber wrapped for $50,000, which Byerly, of course, Byerly didn't tell you this part of the story. He's the THQ Kroc guy in charge of all the money. And man, when I was here, I just got everything I could out of my good old friend there. It was just great. He was great. He helped us rebuild this building. I cannot tell you the funniest story at the Kroc Center here because I told the guy I would take it to our graves, but if you see me after this meeting and give me $10,000 towards the Rocheleau pool fund, I may tell you. Just kidding, Joe. No amount of money will get this out of me, and you notice I'm not making eye contact with him. Here's the second funniest story, and I'm almost done. As a side note, over the years, I think someone told me they thought Don and I were the perfect couple. Well, this story dumps that theory down the drain. If you don't want your dreams dashed of us, or at least of me, if they're already not dashed of me, leave right now. Okay, I warned you. Well, at the Kroc Center, some great officers decided they had enough of the Salvation Army and quit officership. We don't talk about it. Oh, shh, quiet, no. We don't talk about it. It's like they never existed. But yes, it does happen at times. So some new lieutenants came in. Chase and Isabella Green were sent here. On their very first Sunday, he came into my office for something, and I don't know exactly what I said to him, but I made him cry. I got a brand new lieutenant in my office crying, and I felt so terrible about that. I apologized. It was a dumb thing I told him, and since then I've been apologizing to him, and every Christmas I send him a fruit basket. We're good friends now. He followed my parents. Were in Bellingham, Washington, decades ago. He's in Bellingham now fixing stuff up, but we joke around. And to end the Phoenix Kroc story, is one of my favorite pictures, me doing a day camp assembly on this stage with about 100 kids, and I think you're going to see 7 balls in midair, which how we pulled that off. I don't know, Joe, if you took the picture, but somebody was out there caught this picture, and it was just fantastic. Now, the last appointment, we're not going to stop and have anything in between, was DHQ. I was the DS business eventually when I left here and joined Don there. Don was the women's ministry secretary. It was our last appointment, and I'm not a great fit for DHQ. I don't like being a secretary, so I'm not going to share any stories for the last appointment. Don, how about you? You got anything? Don's clapping back there. You got nothing, Don? So we're going to end on a few nice pictures. I like ending my stuff with the sunset. And there we are, into the sunset.
Tiffany.
Thank you guys again for coming to the admiration party of George Rocheleau. Your resort tickets will be under your seats at dinner for your free vacations. Thank you again.
There's one more live tribute. Tiffany, Captain Tiffany Lawler, George's niece. Put your hands together. Make it brief.
We've been here for hours and hours. Okay, don't even give it to the Hudsons about that, Mr. They were 10 minutes late. It's 5:33. So what can I say about George and Dawn? George and Dawn have been like spiritual parents to me because they were pastors. They were Salvation Army officers. They really were part of my spiritualness, of my adultness, my teenage and young adult life. I didn't meet Dawn until I was 6. So she was dating George at the time, and I was 6 years old, and we went and got ice cream. And I am telling you that this ice cream cone was as big as my 6-year-old face. I don't know if it was really that big, but in my mind, it was like this. And I remember looking up, licking this ice cream cone and looking at Dawn and thinking, she's amazing. She was amazing, but this ice cream cone will forever be infamous in my mind. Dawn, was it this big? It had to have been. See, I'm not lying then. So when Dawn and George marries Dawn, and they're getting ready to go into the Salvation Army Training College, and they were raising funds for their training college experience. And Dawn, they had her record some songs on tapes, and then they sold the tapes. How many of you got a tape? Anybody? Raise your hand. Okay. Our tape, I think I wore it through. I would plug it into our stereo system at home, and I would put on, those big headphones. Well, my head was not very big, and so those headphones, I remember they were always going down here, and I would sit like this to keep them on the proper ear area. But I would plug it in, and I would grab a fake something for a microphone, and I would sing my heart out with my Auntie Dawn. And I can hear her in my voice. Hear her in my head, her voice singing, "'Cause I'll rise again. There's no power on earth can tie me down." But it wasn't until I was an adult that I found out that those were not my Aunt Dawn's songs. I didn't realize that this was a collection of many different Christian artists that she had sang these songs to. So I thought she was famous. I thought she was phenomenally famous, and it was not until I was an adult that I found out. I heard somebody else singing her song, and I thought, that's weird. I found Dallas Holmes actually sings that song, and I'm not kidding. I had stars in my eyes for my Auntie Dawn. The summer that I graduated 8th grade, I went to go work for George and Dawn as their day camp counselor. This was in Modesto, their very first appointment as officers, and that was the summer that George invented the Go For It's. And we would sit and we would create these Go For It's. This is before computers, so we wrote all of this out by hand. In order to get a prize, you must do the following. And then we would make the challenge. And then we would seal them up in the envelopes, and then you had to decorate the envelope. And you had to decorate the envelope with multicolors and multi-fonts. There had to be a difficulty challenge in the bottom corner. I have carried that tradition on in my own ministry for many, many years. That began back when I was 14. And George, I know, honed it later in years. I know it was done on the computer. But George did it all by hand. Always been creative, always had those funky fonts. So the emails, that's just his expression. He doesn't really know how to write in one color. So, I just have to say that day camp honestly changed my life. Day camp really introduced me to who God was. Day camp introduced me to the thrill of having fun. Going to the amusement parks and doing the adventures and having things with kids, having things thrown at you because if you're not paying attention, you're going to get a Snickers bar in your face. That's real. I did that every summer for 4 years, year after year after year. I couldn't wait. I would get through school just so that I could go spend summer and do day camp with George and Dawn. And my little brothers they were my cousins, but they were like little brothers of Sky and Luke and Coleman. And those are good times. Those are some of the best memories that I have. And that's just very fond memories. I'm very emotional. The last time that I was on this stage was my grandmother's promotion to glory service, and I gave a tribute then. I didn't know that I was going to have a hard time with this. But I come from very incredible history. God has worked incredibly in my life, and it's a tribute to George and Dawn and investing their time and their energies into their niece. I would go every summer, like I said, for those 4 years. And during those summers, we would watch copious amounts of movies and drink soda, and I got to have junk food. And those were like big things when you're a teenager. But these things that, George and Dawn, the summers is what got me through going to school, going to different schools. I went to a couple different schools, and so adjusting to the new life and everything was a little, hard, but summers were the big thing. But I have to say that I have always been close to George and Dawn. Dawn especially. We have gotten tattoos together and ear piercings. Oh, sorry. We got tattoos together, and we got ear piercings, and we've had many petties and many coffee dates, and she's always been someone that I go to for counsel. And when I was a young adult, they took me in, got me my first job, really helped me get my feet under me. When I got a call on my life to go into officership, George was the DYS in San Francisco, and I called him and I said, George, I really feel like I've been called to officership. And there was a weird sound and silence. And George came back on the phone and he says, sorry, I just fell out of my chair. So they were the first ones that I thought I should tell when I really felt that call. I've always called George as my crazy Uncle George for a reason, and I think most of you seem to know that aspect of him. Yeah, I've got my notes here, but I can't even see what my notes are saying because of the tears that are in my eyes. It has to be tears of joy at the same time, because they are joy in my life. They've been a very bright spot. When I was little, I was kind of questioning whether or not George was actually my uncle, because my dad used to always say that George was adopted. He said, I don't remember Mom being pregnant with you. You just showed up one day. And so, as a kid, there was always this part of me that wondered if George really was my uncle until I got older and could really see the family, the Rocheleau family resemblance. That Rocheleau family resemblance is so strong that when my kids were little, they thought George was their grandpa. And we were at a family function, and they kept saying, Grandpa, Grandpa, to George. And George turned to my kids and said, Dude, I'm not your grandpa. My Joshua started bawling, thinking his grandpa didn't like him. Yeah, George, that's... So here it is, my little Joshua, honestly thinking that his grandpa didn't like him. George has made up for it in many times over since then, but he was sensitive there. But I also remember when I was a child thinking that my Uncle George was rich. Now, he was a Salvation Army officer at this point, but I thought he was rich because he always had a bunch of change on the dresser top when he would come visit us. And it just was boggling to me that there was just all this money on the table. One time, my little brother David and I ran up a flight of stairs with George, and George turned to us and said, "Quick, if you can tell me how many stairs that we just climbed, I'll give you all the money in my pocket." David and I had no idea. But every single flight of stairs that I ever climbed up with George for years after that, I counted, just in case he ever did that again. I don't know about you, David. Do you remember that? You don't remember? Oh, man. I remember that. That was because, George was rich, and all the money in his pocket could have been a big something. But you never knew. George has always been unpredictable, and he's always been fun. When I was in training college, I used to have cadets crowd around my mailbox because I would get the wildest things from George in the mail. And I would get 10 plus postcards sometimes a day, 5 days in the week. So by the time the week is over, I had 50 postcards. And who had mentioned the pictures of his kids while they were naked? I got naked postcards of children. Luke, I'm not going to name names, but I may have the backside of you. And seriously, you could have gone to jail, George. Yeah, I'm almost done. Those puzzles that you would send in those tubes that you had to put together before you could find out what it said on the back. As when I got married, he still sent copious amounts of mail, but he sends it to Zoid and Dude. So you're not the only dude. My husband has been Dude. So it's Zoid and Dude. I became Zoid, I think, when I was 14. George started calling me Zoid, and ever since then, that's been my name. It couldn't have been something pretty, but it was just Zoid. He also addresses our mail to the Lawler group home because I then had children. So my mailman, I don't know, again, where's Donnell? Your mailman, they think they're, odd because we have Zoids and Dudes and group homes. But George, let me tell you something about that mail. I have everything that you've ever sent me. I would have brought it with me, but I had a carry-on, and honestly, it wouldn't have fit. My husband Rob loves that I have every piece of mail, every postcard, every card, every weird photocopy of a face or whatever you would send me, and then send a note and send it into training college. I have them all. But George and Don have been Rob and our spiritual mentor. They were officially our mentors, and they have guided us through many spiritual struggles, questions, things that we wondered about, helped us create ideas in our ministry. We've been very fortunate to have them by our side. George has also, as some of you have noted, been the official photographer for most events in any life. And since he's been my uncle for my whole life, I've had the camera in my face for most every family gathering that we've had. But it is great seeing those plethora of pictures. We've seen some tonight. I know that George has got a slideshow during dinner, but I'm grateful for you capturing those memories because you don't think about it, but it's great to see the things after the fact. I am a better person because of their influence in my life. I hope with all that is in me that you fully enjoy this new chapter in your lives. Now, I have to say, George, that you're going to have to learn new lingo because you cannot constantly have had a killer week and you can't always be fried. So I hope that the only killer thing that you're going to be doing is going on a exploring trail ride somewhere, and that the only thing that you'll be frying in your future will be an egg. But I thank you for your love and your guidance, your encouragement, your acceptance, and honestly, all of the fun that we've had. I'm 50. I'm 50, and you've been in my life my whole life, and I thank you for all of those memories. They are some of the best memories that I have, and I'm so glad that you're mine. Congratulations for a job well done. God bless you.
The only retirement celebration I've been to that's been longer than this is a commissioner of the Southern Territory. It wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. I've known George for 45 years. And I came to Bellingham as a summer cadet, and he was supposed to be there to help me, and he quit immediately and disappeared. But I got even a few years later when George and Don came to live with us in Santa Monica in this incredible house that needed a lot of work. George and Don lived in the basement. And some of the exciting things that happened in Santa Monica is, you think George can fix things? He flooded the chapel. He doesn't remember that, but I do. I do. He was going to wash the windows, but he didn't realize the windows leaked. And if you want to know about Sky, what happened to Sky? Well, Sky, George and Don came with Sky, who was how old? A month? Yeah, a month old. And Sky learned about roller coasters in our house because Don walked in carrying Sky in the car seat and immediately went down the stairs. It's very exciting. Very exciting. And George, I bring you greetings from Ruth Frogert, one of your ICO session mates, because I put George and Don's picture up when they were singing at the Corps, and she said, oh, please say hi to George. And it was a good time, so Ruth Frogert. So George has told me what to say. First of all, tomorrow you're invited to his open house and dedication, and we'll do this all over again. Isn't that what it says here? It doesn't say that. Anyway, it's from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Sound familiar? We're going to do it all over again. At the conclusion of this meeting, which is almost there, we're going to have dinner in the multipurpose room. He says, take a right after you pass the climbing tower, pick up your dinner and drinks, and have a seat. It's a self-serve dinner, and we're praying. What does this mean? We are praying for dinner in a minute. Oh, okay. We're going to pray for the dinner. That's good. If you didn't have enough of George's videos, there's going to be more during the dinner hour. Whoa! And you will also have a time to share your best wishes for the Rocheleaus at the dinner, and the divisional commander is going to present you with the book of letters. All right. Commissioner Sharon Hudson, you have the last word. Yay!
I would like George and Don to come up, please. On either side. And if you could all stand, I'm going to pray for our dinner, and then I'm going to pray a benediction over these two for their retirement. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this fun time we've had together as family and friends. I thank you for your love for us and your grace and your mercy toward us. We will never want to take those for granted. Thank you for the food and the fellowship that we're going to have together. And once again, thank you for your love. And now, George and Don, may the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. You're the best.
Dad.
I know it's terrible.
Luke, if you can help me just, I want to clean the chapel real quick. Yeah, okay. Good job, Luke. That was great. Perfect.
I'll send you what I've written. I read
Oh.
the comment. I was like, I can't be too long.
Well, I knew it'd be about 3 hours, but they came in 20 minutes late. Yeah. Yes. Sierra, can you help us clean the chapel real quick? Yeah. Okay. First of all, just get all the balls and put it in over there.